Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Monday, May 18th, 2020, and today I'm going to be taking a look at my subscriber decided election night and pretty much just discuss the results. I had 1,507 responses to this Google form, which can be found in my community tab. This number may change mid-video, considering that some people are still filling it out. The video was released this morning, so if you're just now seeing this and didn't see my election night, go ahead over to my uploads tab and go ahead and watch that. Or if you just want to know the results without watching the election night, I completely understand. You can go ahead and either skip to the end of this video or just watch me go through each individual one and just discuss why I believe you guys chose a certain way or another. I'm very aware of the central demographic of my channel. The YouTube analytics gives most of my viewers around the ages of 18 to 34, predominantly male, mainly from the United States. So pretty much we're working with young male Americans in terms of the electorate in this channel. So the numbers just went up one for this Google form. So that is going to be something that I do take into account when I'm discussing the results here. It was very similar to my own prediction. There were just maybe, I think, one electoral vote off from what I would actually project for the actual election. But it was very similar to what I believe. Now, whether or not that's just me projecting onto you guys or that's just how the general public feels, it's straight out of the predicted market as well, which I think is very interesting considering that's where the money lies as well. So it looks like based off an analytical point of view on my YouTube channel, there are people who sorry, I had to get a sip of water, who truly believe that, Joe Biden will win in Alabama and Donald Trump will win in, let's say, California. But, there weren't that many. And for states like Alabama, 98.5% of respondents said that Donald Trump would carry Alabama. So actually, when we go through this, you're going to see that there wasn't as much of a partisan divide as you might think. Despite a number of people I know for a fact supporting either Donald Trump or Joe Biden, they were very fair in the way that they assessed this election night. It did end up with a Joe Biden victory. I'll get over into my electoral map based off of margins. I've sorted it based off of margins between 50 to 80% as lean, 80 to 95% as likely, and the 95% plus safe in terms of the way that the respondents voted. So again, Alabama, Alaska, these are states that are solid for the GOP. Arizona was the first swing state, alphabetically, that went to Joe Biden. Around 68.8% of you guys said that Joe Biden would win the state of Arizona, 1,000 people in total. I agree with this one. I do think that Joe Biden will carry the state of Arizona. It was a pretty substantial margin. It wasn't as close as it previously was in former You Decide election nights. I've done these in the past, and usually Arizona's back and forth, 53 to 47. Numbers very small, but it looks like Joe Biden has a pretty strong lead in Arizona based off the way people think it's going to go. Arkansas, of course, goes to Donald Trump. In California, Joe Biden, of course, is the victor there. Colorado actually rivaled, did better than Oregon for Joe Biden, which I think is very interesting. Joe Biden is expected to carry the state of Colorado with 96.5% of respondents believing that. It'd be very surprising if this number was wrong. Connecticut, Delaware, again, Colorado's another swing state. Connecticut, Delaware all go to Joe Biden. In Florida, around the same margin as people believe that Joe Biden will carry the state of Arizona as Donald Trump winning the state of Florida. Around 65.4% of respondents said that Donald Trump would carry the state of Florida. That's a pretty substantial thing considering the fact that Florida is always contested, but it looks like a very huge number of people are confident that Donald Trump will carry Florida. As for Georgia, the numbers even get way better. Despite the Democrats contesting Georgia, it doesn't look like people think it's going to be close whatsoever, or maybe they think it'll be close, but they do think that Donald Trump will win it. There's no real point in contesting a state that already has a pre-selected outcome. But the state of Hawaii right now, Donald Trump is nowhere near Joe Biden. The only reason why I'm talking about Hawaii is because in 2004, according to polling data, George Bush was supposed to win Hawaii. It was actually pretty close. It was within 10%. And then in 2008 became a solid Democratic state thanks to Barack Obama. So the Democrats can thank them for that solid 4 electoral votes. Hawaii was actually a swing state at that point, which I think is insane. In the state of Idaho, Donald Trump, of course, the winner. Joe Biden wins. Illinois, Indiana goes to Trump. Iowa wasn't as much decided as the state of Georgia, which I think is pretty cool. Joe Biden has around 10% of people saying that he would win Iowa, so it looks like the general consensus is that Donald Trump wins Iowa. Kansas goes to Trump. Kentucky goes to Trump. Louisiana goes to Trump. In Maine at large, Joe Biden is pretty much the expected winner with 91% of respondents saying he's going to win there, but in the 2nd congressional district, Donald Trump takes the win there with around 58% of respondents saying that Donald Trump would carry the state of Maine. In Maryland, Joe Biden obviously wins there. He wins in Massachusetts. Michigan is a very solid margin, a lot more absolute for Democrats than Arizona, according to this, and a lot more absolute than Trump winning in Florida, and roughly a little bit under the expected number of people that believe that Donald Trump will carry Iowa. So again, Michigan goes to Joe Biden, Minnesota as well, just a tad bit more solid for the Joe Biden campaign in this state. In Mississippi, obviously goes to Trump. Missouri goes to Trump. Montana, Nebraska's second district, around one out of every four people said that Joe Biden would carry the second district. I honestly don't think they're going to be spending a lot of money in there, but it is winnable, but it doesn't mean that it's super likely that Joe Biden wins Nebraska's second district. Looks like that one's going to Trump. Nevada, pretty solid margin for Joe Biden, to be completely honest. I really thought this one would be contested a little bit more. New Hampshire is actually more contested than Nevada in terms of the way that people think the state is going to go. So that's something to take into account. New Jersey, of course, goes to Joe Biden. New Mexico, New York go to Joe Biden. North Carolina, a solid margin for Donald Trump, roughly the same margin as Florida. Let's actually see. So Florida, let's see. Florida has 983, and then I think North Carolina might actually have less. North Carolina, compare it to 983. Where is it? 989. Wow. So more people believe that Donald Trump will carry Florida than his chances at carrying North Carolina. Wow. North Dakota goes to Donald Trump. Ohio, pretty solid for the president, to be honest. 18 electoral votes. Donald Trump, solid expectations here. Oklahoma goes to Trump. Oregon goes. This is weird. 94.9%, barely under the 95% mark. Enough for me to characterize it as a likely state on this map you're about to see. Pennsylvania goes to Biden by a very solid margin. Rhode Island, of course, goes to Biden. South Carolina to Trump. South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas to Trump. Texas was not as contested as I thought it would be. Utah goes to Trump. It almost broke that 95% barrier. I think that's just because of people discussing the possibility of Mitt Romney being a write-in candidate there. Vermont, of course, goes to Biden. Virginia solidly goes to Biden, breaking through that 95% mark. Washington goes to Biden. West Virginia to Trump. And Wyoming goes to Trump. But the final swing state, Wisconsin, Joe Biden is the expected winner, around the same margin as, let's see, there's another state. I think it was Iowa. Maybe it wasn't Iowa. It was another state that was very similar in terms of, Maine 2nd Congressional District. I remember just seeing roughly the same margin. So let's visualize this. So on your map, the solid Democratic states are the states that are expected to go to Joe Biden by 95% of respondents or more. The likely characterization means 80 to 95% of respondents say that Biden will win this state, and then of course the lean is 50.1% to 80%. That same thing goes for Donald Trump. So if you look around in the Rust Belt, people are very solid as to how they think these states are going to go, except for Wisconsin, which I think is a very telling thing, considering Wisconsin will likely be the closest out of all of them. A lot of people are very solid as to how they think that Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Minnesota will go, along with Ohio and Iowa. But Wisconsin's the only one that it looks like there's only two states on here that were going for Biden that look like they're going to be close, and that's Wisconsin and Arizona. People are pretty much solid about other states. What I think is very interesting is the fact that people are less sure about Oregon for Biden than they are of Colorado, of New Mexico, of Virginia. When you look at that, I think that's something that either the Republican Party's targeting Oregon, which they aren't going to win, or there's just some misconception about the state of Oregon just because of the fact that it had a strong progressive population in 2016, or at least strong Bernie Sanders supporters. That didn't exactly translate to a very solid victory for Hillary Clinton compared to where it used to be, but Oregon will be very solid for Joe Biden on Election Day. So when you look at these, there's some other states that Donald Trump actually is expected to carry by 80 to 95%. That includes Iowa, Ohio, Texas, and Georgia. So I honestly do agree with this. I think that's how the general public feels about it. It just goes to show that there are a number of Trump supporters who, actually next time I'm going to do a Google form. I'm going to ask for your either party identification or which candidate you support for the 2020 election. But Texas, Iowa, Ohio, and Georgia, that's probably going to be the margin in the general election anyway, a likely margin for Donald Trump, maybe lean for some of those states. But I do understand why people think this. As for likely Democratic states, again, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, Oregon, New Hampshire, and Maine at large, and Maine's first district. Actually, Maine's first district would be safe. I just didn't pull it because there was no need. But pretty much, these are states that people are very solid in their prediction that they think that Biden will carry those states, regardless if they support Trump or Biden. They do think that Biden will carry those states. And you look at the lean states, again, only 2 of them, Wisconsin and Arizona. For the GOP, the lean states are Maine, 2nd District, Nebraska, 2nd District, North Carolina, and Florida, which means that people are somewhat solid in terms of characterizing it for Donald Trump or Joe Biden, but they aren't super sure. When this translates into swing state data, it's pretty much the exact swing states that we see, disregarding the state of Oregon. Some notable absences from the contested states in terms of the way that people view these races: Virginia, Colorado. Surprisingly, Oregon is likely instead of safe. So I actually might do a little bit of a flashback, as I did in my video yesterday, where I go over the subscriber-decided election results from over a year ago, mid-March 2019, and I'll see how you guys truly believe the races would end up, and see if that is any different from this one, which it 100% will be. But the final numbers pretty much give Joe Biden an electoral college victory with 289 electoral votes to Donald Trump at 249, based off your guys' subscriber-decided election nights. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.